Hello, hello, hello. Crafty Chris here from Scrap Your Scraps Thursday night. Tonight, I am not scrapping scraps. I have found this little paint by layers craft kit by Our Little Makery. I wanted to do it online because it just looked like a lot of fun. And it says that it's for ages 6 to 96 and no experience is needed. So that's awesome. I am going to adjust a few things because that's what I do. So I've got some grit paste, I've got some pearl tints, got some sparkle medium here as well, and I'm just going to jazz it up a tiny bit because when I opened up the kit, the paints and everything were fun, but they're just plain ordinary paints. So what is really cool is it tells you what the paints are and how to mix the colors, which is really awesome. So that's a cute little thing to keep aside. It has instruction. Well, does it have instruction? Not really. It has just a list of all the options that you can get. So not really instructions, but it's kind of simple. You just paint it according to the picture on the front. Little pot of glue, a little brush, a stand for afterwards. So let's get going. It says time required 30 minutes. I'm kind of guessing that might not be true if you're inexperienced, but we'll find out because I have a tiny bit of experience. And we will see how long it actually takes. The reason I'm showing it to you is just to show you that you can get these fun little kits and you can totally make them your own by jazzing and adding a few other things to it to, you know, elevate it a little bit above what you would normally have. Now these guys I'm probably going to paint white, but I'm not sure yet. This is all layers. Oh, this is very cool. Let's open this up. Everything has a layer. So you can paint each individual layer whatever you want, which is very cool. I don't know. I don't know where to start. Okay, I think I'm going to start by painting this piece black because that's what's in the picture. The picture shows me that the outer frame is black. I feel like I want to keep the sides as they are because that's kind of cool. I guess we'll see how messy I am in painting as to whether or not I need to paint the sides. And I need a grip mat so that I can have a messy mat while I'm doing this. Now, I'm going to reorganize things just a bit because I have to keep you in my screen and this will tell me where you should be. There we go. I don't think I'll need scissors, but you never know. Let's start with the first layer. We got all our paints here. First layer is going to be black. We'll start with that because that's just nice and easy. Make sure you have a water container and you have some spray if you make a mess, and you have wipe ups. So we are going to do the black first. And the paint seems nice and thick, which is awesome. I actually think I'm going to go around the outside and the inside. Not going to worry about the back side because that's going to be glued. Dries fairly quickly. Just make sure there's no excess on the edges, inside or outside. The inside probably should be painted. So I'm just going to go and do that very quickly. Everything's painted the outside, I'll do later. So that's one layer done. Now before we move on, let's just clean up our mess a little. Okay, that's my outer piece. Now I feel like I have to do my background next because I want to do this Aurora Borealis look on my background. It is a small space on the background. I do not need to color the whole thing. So let's just take this piece and I'm going to trace it just so I know what I need to paint. I'm just going to lightly trace, and of course I'm going to paint over this. So I just know where my Aurora Borealis is going to go. I'm not going to waste the paint on this. That would be pointless. All right, so I am using Pearl Tints from Cosmic Shimmer. Whoops, this one I didn't shake. Close up that. Just going to put some of that on my mat. I've got, that one was Fragrant Lilac. This one is Blue Diamond. Now I'm not going to need a whole lot. And this one was, or is, Glacial Green. So we got the blues, the greens. All right, now I'm going to take a different brush and I'm just going to place color. I'm going to put my purpley bit in here. I'm going to have to do a few layers. I can already see it because the board is absorbing quite a bit all at once. And I'm going to have a little bit down here. And I've gone over my little traced lines. Now I'm going to go in with the green. And what happens is it kind of goes sort of in streaky lines. And this stuff is really transparent. Just going to put a bit here. Just going to keep layering the different colors. So here we're going to put blue, green here. And it's not showing up, but that's because I have a very thin layer on it. And I think I'll put a little more purple back there. I'm going to dry that. It's dry to touch, so now I can put another layer on. It's okay if they cross over each other, but as long as there is some direction. Now you can start to see the colors adjusting, and I think this bright light is creating sort of a reflection there. All right, now I'm going to go in with the blue. So I think it's probably going to need 3 coats by the end of things. Going back to the blue because I think I need to lay that on thicker. And I think I'm just going to touch. No, you know what? I think I'm okay with the purple being like that. So we have this happening. I feel like I want to smooth it out just a little bit. All right, let's just give that a bit of a minute. And I'm going to go to the second screen. So that's the snowflakes. Now the snowflakes, I'm going to paint the whole thing white first to begin with. Let's go back to that. So here's our white, and we're going to paint the whole thing white, which might have been what I should have done with that back piece, but it's all good. Just give it an undercoat of white. Sometimes I find with these things that are burnt, like laser cut and get burnt on the edges, that sometimes the burn discolors the paint when you're painting it. So you just want to make sure you're doing a light layer to start, and then you can go and add another layer after it's dry just to see if you even need a second layer, but you want it to be dry. And I'm doing this all in one video, so I am drying as I go. In one of my little holes here, I'm clearing out the excess paint that's gone in there because I want to be able to see. So while this is drying, I'm just going to go in and poke out any of the paint that has settled into any of the details in the holes. Give it a quick hit with heat, and I'm going to put one more coat on there. Now I'm going to put a texture paste on here anyway, so the detail is going to get slightly diminished because the texture paint will sort of make that happen. We want the inside of that rim to be painted. Now on the edges, I'm not concerned that they're perfectly painted, like on the inside edges. I'm not so concerned if they're perfectly painted as long as they are touched with white, because the impression will be there and you're not looking directly at it. And then I'll take a final look at it to make sure that everything has been hit. Because the reason why I'm taking the time to do this is because probably I will have made a mess somewhere, And if I kind of don't do that, then that spot that is white on the dark burned cut edge will show up more. Again, I'm going to paint the outside edge black. Just need to make sure I get these little holes cleaned out. And as I turn it, I can see where I've missed spots. Okay, I'm going to hit that and do one more round around the outside just to make it nice white, because it is absorbing rather quickly. All right, so back here, just going to make a nice white edge. Paint it as delicately as I can. So that's a nice finished edge. We're going to let that sit aside. Clean up. I'm going to go back here. This is all dry. My hands are messy. Need to clean them. I'm back, and let's get our little paintbrush. This stuff, I just want to make sure that this is nice and covered. So we're going in one more time. And if it happens to go over top of the blue and the purple, I'm okay with that, because at this point it's just going to help to blend the colors together. And finally the blue. You have to keep the edges as flat as possible for when you're gluing everything together, and that's why you don't want to have like anything on the flat pieces, because they have to be glued one on top of the other. Right now that's going to dry. We got the white drying. I think I'm going to do our friend, the little penguin, and he is basically going to be black. Before I want to get rid of that, I think. Now we're going to go in for our black eye. Now I have to be careful, because this is kind of going to be white and gray, and it seems to me that they're painting the inside edges black except for this ring. So maybe I will need to paint them black, or just not paint them. So I'm going to have to be very careful about my painting. So basically I do not want to, I want to go along here and down here, but this has to kind of go around like the body, following the body, like it would be legs or something, or his belly. Paintbrush is a little awkward, being that it is flat, and I feel like it needs to be a round paintbrush, but there we go. Do you see how I sort of painted the belly there? And the rest is going to have to be white and gray. So I'm just going to go in and do a little bit of painting, avoiding the beak. Beak is a different color, and avoiding the white of the eye is tricky. I don't know if this is really beginner, but if you have the right paintbrush, it could be beginner. Carefully avoiding the eye, white of the eye, which gets tricky at this point because it's very, very fine. So let me get my fine paintbrush out here. And I'm just going to tip that with a bit of black and go in. It does paint the eyeball, so you literally have to be super careful about that. Now, there are no instructions with this. However, I'm sure if you went online, you could find somebody doing it like I am, or one of their people. So, you know, if you're not sure what to do or how to do it, you could always look it up, or you could watch my video again. So I'm just going to go back in, do a nice thick coat of black, make sure everything is covered. I'm going to do the head and the bottom with the small paintbrush, because this big flat paintbrush is really not good for that. That should be enough black. Finish off the head with a second coat. And I think that's fairly well covered. Just want to make sure that it's spread evenly. Now down here, after I'm going to dry it first, because I want to make sure that the black and the white doesn't connect. Once acrylic gets a skin on it, it won't lift. All right, I'm going to leave that a minute. I'm going to do the bottom first. So we're going to paint the entire bottom white. I don't think I'm going to see this frame. Let me see what happens here. Put the snowflake over top. Now the snowflake covers up the outer ring, so we're not going to worry about the outer ring. We are just going to paint this white, making sure not to go down this side. The first coat is going to be thin. I'm not worried. I'm just worried about getting coverage, not worried about it being super duper finished. I'm just going around there. Nice smooth it all out. Then we get our little guy to go up to there, our little paintbrush to go up around there because I don't want my colors to be mixed up. Back for a second coat of white. Now we're going to dry that. Perfect. Go back in with my thin brush up to the feet. And then final coat of white. So it's still looking a bit blotchy. So I think I'm going to go over with one more coat. All right, so now we're going to dry that. All right, and then I'm going to take a little bit of gray, cleaned out, and I'm just going to go along the bottom edge and just pull some gray in at the bottom edge to give some depth. And I'm going to add a tiny bit of water because this seems to be drying very quickly. Okay, I'm not really liking the gray. I'm finding it too harsh. So I'm going to go in and add some of this greeny color down the gray a bit, make it more like ice. And first I want to do a tiny bit of white again. Oh, I can't get this apart. Mine is just a little too harsh for me. Just giving it a little bit more white on top. Making it a little bit less harsh. That brought it down quite a bit, which is better. And now a touch of green. So I want to have some green with water. I'm going to take the green, I'm going to grab some water, mellow it out a little, because I just want to have a tinge of green on there. Of course, when you add water to it, it gets a little bit streaky. So I'm going to dry this up a bit, adding a tad more white. And now I'm noticing that I'm getting a bleeding from the cutting into my snow. My snow is turning yellow. I don't know if you can see that right at the edge there. It's getting yellow from what's going on behind there, which I don't like. All right, so we're just going to, again, go across, feather it out. There we go. I'm not worried about those spots because when the snowflakes go over top, you're not going to see that. So I'm not at all worried about those. It's more what's going on here that has me concerned. This yellowy business is not making me happy. It just seems to want to bleed. Well, it is a little kid, you know, it's supposed to be like a child's project, so I guess I can't really be too fussy. Okay, so got to get my little pointy brush. I got to do that, the whites of the eye. Now this is going to be tricky, so make sure I have a point on my brush, and I'm just going to touch in very lightly. That is a small place to paint. Okay, wow. I need to pull my lights in a bit, so I'm sorry if it's too much light for you. I just can't see very well. So now all that's left is the orange for the beak. So I need a little bit of this on the beak. And I'm probably going to need 2 coats, trying to make sure I don't get it stuck in the groove. So let's just try that. I'm going to paint that again. One more time. And one more. Perfect. All right, now I'm just going to put that aside, and I'm coming back to this. I want to make this a little more textury, so I need to have my black, yeah, because this is on the surface, so this is towards me, so I can do whatever I want with this. I'm just going to make sure that I don't go where the black is going to be. So I'm going to do a small light line where every snowflake is, so I know where the edge of the band stops. So I have to keep it within that line. Don't know if you can see that, but it's a very pale line, so I have to keep whatever I'm going to do in here and not go to that side. All right, let's clean up a tiny bit, and I think I'll just use an expensive little spatula. What I want to have happen here is texture and sparkle. So I've got grit paste translucent and sparkle translucent, and I'm going to mix the two things together. I'm just going to take a sparkly bit out of here, and I already know my grit paste is a bit thick, but it's still going to work really well. And I can add a tiny bit of water if I need to, but I think that these two things mixed together should be good enough. I am going to put both of these pastes together and mix them up, so it'll just have a tiny bit of reflective sparkle, and it will have the texture that I want for the snow. And I'll see if I can show you. See how you can see the little sparkles in there? And it's still nice and thick. When the sparkle paste is on its own, you don't have any real texture because it's transparent. So you need to have the grit paste to give you that viscosity. All right, how am I going to apply this now? I want to apply some of it on here, which means I need to get the snowflake, and the snowflake looks to me like it's going to go to the side here, which is perfect. And I'm just going to draw a line again to show me where not to put it for the sake of having it not sticking. Oh, you know what? I need the snowflake in there too, don't I? Let's do the snowflake. Just kind of need to have a basic idea where not to put it. So I can put a bunch of it here, and I have some on my palette that I want to get off, and I am just literally going to spread that out, plotzing it down. It's okay if it goes over that edge, but not so much if it goes over this edge. So I do want it to come down into the gray, and I want it to come here and a little bit in there, a little bit under his belly. And I cannot see where my line goes there. This should be good enough. So it's all kind of spotsy. And I'm going to clean it off the edge, just using my palette knife and my finger. Just make sure I don't have any that has ended up on my little guy. Making a mess. All right, so I think that will be fine. If it doesn't work well with my snowflake, let's eyeball it for a minute. So I can split a little bit down in here too. So if I need to, I can always scrape it off. There we go. So that's going to dry. And I want this on my snowflakes as well. And I know where my line is, where I can take it to. So I am going to, and I'm going to put it flat on my snowflakes, and then I need to go in and dig out the excess from between the little tines on the snowflake. So what I mean by that is, let me just get this in here first. So now I'm going to go in from behind, and I can see all kinds of excess snow. So I'm going to pull that out. So I'm just looking down, and I can see where everything is getting clogged, and I just go in and I clean it up. I haven't done that one yet. So it's a bit of work when you are going beyond what is expected. So now you can see sparkle, and it's got three-dimensional texture as well. And I just want to flatten out anything that has been pushed up from behind. There we go. So when I put my black on top of this, do it very carefully, you'll see that it doesn't interfere with the snowflake. Perfect. And I actually can put a tiny bit more on. I have some open spots right along. And now I can clean that off, any extra off where the line is. There we go. So that goes right up to the line. Now, interesting, look at my snowflake is going yellow too. Don't think I'm happy with that. I think I'm gonna have to mix some white paint in with that, but then if I do that, I'm gonna lose. I think I'm gonna need to do another round of white paint on the snowflakes. And I even had gone in underneath and repainted them, so that's interesting that we're having this problem still. Very yellow. What a difference. Well, we'll work with what we have. I'll just dry this off. Okay, we're going to continue. I don't think we can do anything about the yellowing, so we're not going to worry about the yellowing. Just going to smoosh our stuff on. Then we're going to go from behind, pick out the excess. You know what? I'm not happy with that. Okay, so we're going to keep doing it, and what I'm going to do in the end is I am going to probably paint it white, but it'll still be textured because I am not thrilled with what's happening in terms of the yellowing. So I'm going to have to somehow sort the yellowing out. And I might just have enough for all of them. Took up more than I expected. Just enough. All right, let's clean this first. That's that all done. All right, that one is done. This one is done. And this guy just needs a cleanup. All right, so there is our snowflakes all done. Sparkly, but we're going to have to probably paint them. So anyway, we're going to let those dry, close that up, clean off our tool, and clean off our mat. And I'm just going to pull up some paper towel, clean off the chunky stuff. All right, next layer is this layer. And this layer, we only really have to paint the inside. So if we get our guy and we trace him, first of all, let's make sure he's on there properly. We now know where we have to, oh no, yep, dirty fingers. So I messed up my guy's head because I had dirty fingers. All right, so we've got to touch him up before we move on to the other thing. I am just going to touch up this little part of his head that got messed up. All right, so he's done. Now we are going to go in and we are going to paint first yellow and the two kinds of yellow. So we're going to blend a couple of things together. So I am going to take some yellow, the darker yellow, and I'm going to take the lighter yellow, and I'm going to kind of try to build some feathers. So I'm doing quick strokes just around the bottom here, and then I'm going to add some strokes of yellow in there, and then I'm going to go back in and add some strokes of orangey color in there until I get sort of a blend happening. I'm going to dry this, and some more yellow, some more of this orange mixed in, so there are multiple layers of color. Okay, it's hard to see on film. Wonder if I turn this off, if you can see there are multiple layers of different colors in there. All right, and I might go back in and add more after it dries, not sure. So let's dry this off. Then I'm going to take a little tiny bit of red with my small brush, and I'm going to take the red and mix it with a bit of yellow so it's more like an orangey color, a little bit darker. I'm going to get the excess out, and I'm literally going to try to dry brush that in. Some parts I feel like I need to make sure they're a little more pointy, so if they're too rounded, I go in and I make them more pointy looking so that it looks like feathers. So now we're going to dry that out a little bit. Now I do want to make sure that it goes down to the bottom, which it does. Perfect. All right, and then from here down, I'm doing white. And so the white part at the top is going to be just solid white. And then I'm going to take my thin brush and feather the white into the orange. So I don't want to go feathery very much. Almost like my brush is too big. Again, I go back in, and whatever is too thick, I add a point to it. Okay. And then I go back, and from the edge of that, I double coat my white, so the white is nice and clean. Back to my little brush. Now I'm going to try and make the white that's there just a little bit brighter on the feathers. So it appears like there's just a few feathers coming out. And then grab the tiniest amount of gray, little tiny bit of gray, put that on my mat, grab some white, and make just a tiny bit of a grade down white so I can add some detail, making it look more feathery. There's some texture in the body. Now that you can see, you got the gray, the white, the orange. I think I'm going to lighten up just around the edge here with my small brush. Add a little bit more of this yellow. Don't know if I have enough here. Just coming off the bottom. There we go. So we have some lightness in the bottom area there. There we go. I'm happy with that. All right, that's my bird. Close those guys up. Clean the mat, let that dry. Okay, now checking hands, not too bad. Where are we? We are in the next row. And the next row, I have to see where penguin stops. So I'm going to have it come up a little bigger on one side of the penguin. There we go, like that. So now I have my lines, and now I am going to paint this area sort of like a lightish blue, but with a hint of green in it, I think. And then I'm going to add to gray after. So I think I need to do some mixing. Blue and some of that green. I don't want to rub that in because it's got blue in there. Blue and green, and I'm going to go into the gray after. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint blue along the edge. Then I'm going to add some green to that, a little bit of green to that. And then I am going to add white to the top, which is probably going to turn yellow. Okay, make sure I'm all colored in there and blend that lightly into the blue. I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to add a little more color, a little more water, get that blending whiter. There we go, liking that better. Some more white. Taking a tiny bit of water, blending that back towards the blue again. The bluey green. Now, I just want to see if I like it. So there we are, the bluey green in the background. I'm liking that. We'll let that dry, because then the next thing we have is this background. And this background is going to be more of a greeny color, moving up into the greens and blues. So I'm going to trace along here. That dry. Now I'm going to stick more to the green on this area, but I'm going to mix it in with white as well as the green. So I'm going to put the green down first. Now we're going to open up a bit of the lime green because I want to pull in a little more green in here. And I'm just going to take it from the lid, some water, water it down a little bit, go over top of this, and the green and the sagey color underneath are going to blend together. A little water, a little bit too much green here. Mixing on the fly, folks, mixing on the fly. It's totally legit. Okay, now we're going to get our white again, and we're going to mix in our white. I actually think we might need a tinge of blue in here. Let's pull some of this out, actually. I have it here. Just mix that up with a bit of water and pull that in a little bit. There we go. Now we're getting more of an icy green. Do need some more of this with some water. There we go. I like that better. Kind of a cold, grainy blue. I'm just going to hit that and let it dry for a minute. There we go. Now I'm going to put some white on there. I find I can mix the colors better with this little brush. So I want wet white, and then this will just tamper everything down. I just want it a tiny bit more white at the tips here. Let's just have a peek. Make sure that's going in the direction we want. Yes, it is. And then I'll decide where I want that when it's dry. Okay, so now behind this one is this one. Let's clean up a bit. I'm going to keep this green out because I do want some of that sage green in the background with a little bit of a limey color to it. Then here you're going to have not very much, just enough of some texture. Everything's drying off nicely in this area. So we're going to put the lime green in all over. Just one layer, making sure we touch all the spots. We are going to add the sage, but I don't want a lot of sage. And I want it to be kind of watery, so it kind of tampers this. I think I might need a little bit of blue in there. Let's throw in some blue. What do I think about that? A little more blue. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. So that's that. I'm gonna let that dry. And then this guy is gonna have all the spots on it. This I want to be greeny bluey. So I'm going to start with this color, which looks like teal. Now you notice I'm not drying between layers on these guys because I do want the colors that I pull together to blend together. I think I want a tad of green in there, so I'm going to go with this slightly darker green. I'm going to start with it watered down and then work from there. I think that might work. Too much green, so we're going to take that green off. Easy to do when it's still wet. Now I'm going to add some water and I'm going to mix those colors. I think I went too heavy on the green, so we'll have to go back to the blue. Okay, not a problem. We're just going to put a couple of dabs in here and mix it in. Mixing on the fly. So I'm putting all my brush strokes going up because these are mountains, so they should follow a linear sort of path. I'm good with that. Awesome. Dry this out. Now I'm drying this out because I'm adding just some highlights here. Oh, it's got an interesting green color. There we go. It dries differently than what the initial color is. I'm going to add a little bit of purple here. I'm going to start with watered down purple until I figure out where exactly I want the purple. I want the purple to highlight the sides of the mountains. I've decided that this side is going to be the side that is the shadow. And the lower you go, the more it appears to be tall, sort of scissory-like mountains. So I'm just taking a damp brush, trying to work these in. Don't want them to be too aggressive. Again, like what I did with the ends of the feathers, where it doesn't show to a point, I'm going in and drawing that point, making sure I don't have too much on my paintbrush. This has 2 points, which is fine, because sometimes you have rocks that jet out. That one I don't mind, that one I don't mind. This one's a bit messy. This will be fine. Make sure it's fully painted. I think I like that. So we're going to let that dry. And then the back is going to be purple, but I'm going to make it a darker purple than what I have here. So let's trace this. And the reason we're tracing again is just so that we know we don't have to paint the whole piece. Okay, that can dry. Now, this is going to be a darker purple. So I want to put, I want to put a bit of black and a bit of purple. So let me think. I'm going to do some watery black. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to dry it, and it's going to give me a dark background to paint the purple onto. All right, so that gives us our base. Now we're going to dry that completely, because then it won't blend in when I put my purple on top. Now, when I put my purple on top, definitely need to water the purple down. All right, let's see what happens when that dries. Okay, that looks awesome. I need to go slightly darker with my purple, so I'm going to take a touch of black and mix it in with my purple, and I think I need a little bit of blue here, so I'm going to go with this kind of weird periwinkle. I almost feel like I need red in there. Let's try a tad of red. Let's see what happens. I'm going to be using this for highlighting just the edges, and I actually want it to go darker. This is going to be highlighted anyway, right down to there, because this goes into a valley. Actually, let's just make this whole thing a valley, and that goes off in the distance. So this is going to have a bit of a crest on it. I do not know if I am going to get what I want from that, so let's dry it. It's a little bit, but it's not quite enough. So I am going to add some more black and mix that in and go over it one more time. It's going to have to work. So we're going to put this aside to dry. And I think the only thing left now to do is our little red scarf with white dots. Now the white dots I am going to put on separately. I am not using paint for white dots. I am going to be using thick white acrylic pen for this. So let's get the red out. This is almost like a fire engine red as it's coming out of the paint container. I suspect it'll dry dark, so let's see what happens after drying. And I need my guy because there's a bit of paint in there. It's always good to have a little pointy tool that you can use. One more coat. Red is usually pretty good. We've done double coats on mostly everything, so let's just keep it consistent. Dry that. Now I'm just going to grab my white marker. All right, so the final thing to do is to do our little bit of decorating. So I'm just going to randomly polka dot big ones and small ones, And then if they're not as obviously big, then I go in and make them bigger. One more time, or the smaller ones. There we go. And that is done. So all the pieces are done. We just now have to get the background piece, which I've forgotten which one that is. That's the one with the Aurora Borealis in it. So here's our Aurora Borealis. It's got a pearlized effect, but I want to make it all one level and shiny. So I am going to go in and put some glaze on there. So gloss varnish is what I'm looking for. There we go. Woo! That came out quite nicely. And I'm going to get my crummy brush that I always use for stuff like that. So we're going to crummy brush, and we're just going to spread it right where it needs to be spread. And this is going to give it sort of like a glossy layer, which will give it depth. And do I need to do any more? I think I will not. I think I'll just leave it like that. Let's dry that off. And then we are gluing all the layers together. There we go. Okay, so our first layer is the Aurora Borealis. It's a little bit hot. Then the layer that comes after that is our mountain range, and we have to get it lined up so that the Aurora Borealis sits inside the mountain range. Do you see what I'm going for there? All right, so that means I'm going to glue this side with this little pot of glue. Guess I'm supposed to use this. There's no real instructions. Let's just make sure we get glue along this upper edge. Don't want glue around the outside edge or the inside edge, and then just smooshing it all over, I guess. Sure, let's do that. Smoosh. You want to make sure it's even. You may not like this glue. Make sure the glue does not stay on the edges. Appears to be drying before I even get it on, so that may not work for me. Okay, let's see. All right, so some glue on the tip there. I'm noticing that I missed in my Aurora Borealis, but I think we'll be okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to paint the edge for sure. Okay, it seems to be holding. And then my next layer is going to be this layer, and that's going to be going right in like that. So let's do our painting on here. Oh no, I have to do it on here because I don't know where the edges are. Alrighty, so now I am lining those guys up so that I can see those mountains, and everything is stuck together, and I can see glue in there. Eek! Dry brush. I'm gonna go in and pull the glue out. Do not like to see glue. I don't know if this is clear glue or not because it doesn't say anything. There we go. So we're putting pressure on there, holding it for a second. Okay, next level then is, oh, that doesn't feel very glued. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is, and it's just me. Okay, next level is the greeny bit that I have in front. Greeny bit's going to be like that. Okay, here we go. Greeny bit is going to go on here, slightly up on one side. My other layer wasn't so well put on. Apparently it does stick really well. Anyway, I see more glue, so we're going to pull that glue out and that glue out. And then the next one is this one. You know what? I have to separate these two because they are not, they shifted when I did the gluing. Gently, gently, gently. There. Okay. Let's put some more glue on there. So the glue does seem to be sticky. Let's try and get this evenly now. Now this one. Not a lot of glue here. There's just enough. So don't go crazy with the glue. Okay, and then this goes on there. Hold it for a few minutes. Okay, so it's looking great. And then the next layer is this one. And this one is going to go up a little bit to the side. Less to glue on this, luckily. Don't want glue around the outside. That goes a little on that side. All right, not quite finished yet. We're getting there though. So this is our next layer, and this is our guy who is going to go right there. Beautiful. Smoosh it too much. And now his body is going to go there. Make sure everything aligns and everything is covered. Oh my God, it is so cute. Look at this. So it is definitely not 38 minutes to get this done, as we have seen. All right, now we have to line up the bird bits. Make sure the bird bits line up properly, because otherwise that would be odd. So we are going to have to paint the edges. So I'm going to paint the inside black and around this guy because some of the color is showing, and the outside completely is going to be painted black. Wow, that's cute though, but he's not going on just yet. We have one more layer, which is my disappointment layer. And before we put that on, I really am going to paint this white. We have to paint these guys white. I may not have enough white paint. Oh, I may have enough white paint. Let's see. So I'm not thrilled with how this turned out. So I'm going in and I'm painting over the yellow snowflakes because they went yellow with white paint, which disappoints me a little because now I've lost the sparkle. But hopefully this will solve the problem of the yellowing because the wood was yellowing it. Cover the inside just a little. Don't want any of that yellowing showing. Poke her out. The texture is a lot of fun. I think it was worth doing. I'm sad that the sparkle won't come through. Goes to the side. Now these guys. Okay, I can't paint these guys white, so we are going to paint these guys black because I have more black than I do white, and I'm okay with that. I think they will look stunning in black. I'm just brushing it so that it smooths out any brush lines. And we'll do this one. I'm going to dry these guys. All right, now we're going to do the back side. Okay, I'm just going to put these to the side to dry. How's this doing? Looks okay. So I'm now going to make sure this is thoroughly dry. In moving this piece did not stick onto this piece. So we're going to have to put some more glue there. I think it might have just been too thin. I don't need to glue him. I just need to glue the bottom. He's not really stuck to anything. Maybe there. It's the edges that we have to make sure are sticking. Okay, let's get him back in his place. All right, now this guy needs to be glued just around the edges. And which snowflake goes in the bottom? This one, I think it is. Yes, so I can actually put a little more glue on him to help the whole thing stay. And he's going to go in there like so. Make sure everything is touching. And then the last thing to go on is this guy, and he goes on there like so. Maybe just enough glue. Look at that. And ta-da! This goes on there to make sure that it fits in all the right places. Hold that steady. And there is the finished project, but just a little bit of glue and stuff to do. And it's really difficult to get this actually perfect, but you know what? It's pretty good. All right, so let's get the black out. I need to do the edges of these guys very quickly. Finishing up our black. Make sure we've used all the paint we can possibly use. And we're just looking for the outer edges because those inner edges will be attached to each other. The nice thing is that the edges that are burnt are already dark, so it doesn't take much to cover. There we go. Okay, I need to wash my fingers properly. All right, now we are going to be painting this. And it might need 2 coats. I'm going to do 1 coat first. We like it to dry quickly so we can move on. Okay, now let that dry. Just do another coat along here, just gently. So that is basically it. And these are not dry yet, and this is not dry, but you will see at the beginning of the video the finished project after everything is dry and it is all sitting up. Oh, I forgot. I need to put that guy on there, and it's all good to go. That's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this project, and if you did, please like and share and sign up on my YouTube channel to get more interesting and varied projects. See you next week. Bye.